That down. Let's move on to this, shall we? Joker 2 sucks. I mean, this is kind of a universally accepted and known thing. It was an awful movie. And again, I say that as somebody who absolutely adores the first Joker movie. I really like Todd Phillips. I thought the performances in the movie were very good. I think Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix delivered on the performances of what they needed to do. Unfortunately, they had absolute garbage material to work with. Whereas the first Joker movie, every single scene, every single moment was layered with allegory and layered with commentary and layered with observation and layered with, like, every moment of the first Joker movie is just so rich. Not so much Joker 2. It was an absolute waste of time. Anyway, there is somebody who really loves the movie. One of the greatest filmmakers out there, Quentin Tarantino. Quentin Tarantino has come out and said he absolutely loves this movie. Loves it. And that's great because all film is subjective, right? That's great. Some people are going to love some things that everybody else hates. I have movies that I really like that everybody hates. You have movies you love that everybody hates. Same is true as Quentin Tarantino, right? But what got interesting is Quentin Tarantino's comments about maybe people who didn't. This comes to us from IndieWire. Let me go back to an earlier part here. Quentin Tarantino said, I really, really liked it. Really, a lot, talking about the Joker movie. Like, tremendously. And I went to see it expecting to be impressed by the filmmaking, but I thought it was going to be an arm's length intellectual exercise that ultimately I wouldn't think worked like a movie, but that I would appreciate it for what it is. And I'm just nihilistic enough to enjoy a movie that doesn't quite work as a movie, or that's like a big giant mess to some degree. And I didn't find it an intellectual exercise. I really got caught up into it. I really liked the musical sequences. Good for you, Quentin. I got really caught up. I thought the more banal the songs were, the better they were. I find myself listening to the lyrics for once in my life the way I never did before. Now, this is where he starts talking about people who didn't like it. The Joker directed the movie. The entire concept, even him spending the studio's money. He's spending it like the Joker would spend it, all right? And then hits big surprise gift, haha, the Jack in the Box when he offers you his hand for a handshake and you get a buzzer with 10,000 volts shooting you, is the comic book geeks. He's saying fuck you to all of them. He's saying fuck you to the movie audience. He's saying fuck you to Hollywood. He's saying fuck you to anybody who owns any stock at DC and Warner Brothers. And Todd Phillips is the Joker, unfilmed Joker, all right, is what it is. He is the Joker. All right. First of all, again, let me reemphasize, all film is subjective. I don't think anybody should have any problem with anybody who loves Joker 2, Folie, Deux, right? I hated it, but that's okay. Art hits us all in different ways. And especially when you have an auteur like Quentin Tarantino, I've got a feeling there's going to be some wacky things he either doesn't like or does like. That's great. Nothing wrong with that. But here's the problem. Here's where I have a problem with Quentin's words. Quentin, who is like one of the great filmmakers of our day, okay? I don't think anybody's going to refute, even if you don't like his movies, you got to acknowledge he's one of the great filmmakers of our age. He's amazing. But there seems to be this false narrative out there that I keep hearing people trying to preach. Tell me if you've heard this in other circles. But I keep hearing people making up this excuse saying, people just didn't like Joker 2 because it wasn't comic booky enough. They just didn't like Joker 2 because it didn't meet their expectations for what a comic book movie is. And that seems to be what Quentin Tarantino is saying too. He's saying, this is a movie that's a fuck you to all the comic book fans. Here's the problem. Did you watch the first Joker? The first Joker was nothing like a comic book movie. There was nothing comic booky. It was as grounded and as gritty and as real as you can get, that just so happened to have a character in it named Joker. But it really defied all conventions of what we expect from a comic book movie. And yet, being completely unlike what anybody would have expected a Joker movie to be, we all loved it. Not all of us, clearly, but I mean, a lot of us loved it. Not because it was so comic booky, because it wasn't. It wasn't comic. It was the most uncomic book movie I've ever seen. And yet, so many of us loved it. Why? Because it was a great movie. It had so many of the things that Quentin Tarantino has in his films. Subversive messaging, great, interesting characters, observation layered throughout, maybe not quite Quentin's wit that Quentin brings to his thing. So this notion that, oh, no, people, fuck you to comic book fans, just the comic book fans are just mad because it wasn't comic booky enough. There was nothing comic booky about the first one, and we loved it. All we didn't want a comic book movie for Joker 2. We just wanted another great movie like Todd Phillips gave us in the first one. That's all we were asking for. And the reason the fuck you comic book fans and people like me did not like Joker 2 was because it didn't have any of those things that Quentin Tarantino does put into his movies that makes them great. The characters were now suddenly flat. Listen, the performance of Lady Gaga was great, but the characterization of Harley Quinn, it wasn't that she wasn't enough like the Harley Quinn from the comic book. No, she was just a lame character that made no sense even to the own internal logic of the movie. The character just didn't make sense. The movie had no point. There was no purpose. There was no allegory. There was no observation. It was just nothing. It was just, okay, the events of the first movie, and then this happened. That's all Joker 2 was. Joker 2 was a post-credit scene tapped on to the end of Joker 1. That's it. That's all it was. Now, if you watched it and you appreciated it and you liked it, good on you. That's awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed it. But this whole thing about, yeah, the comic book movie fans are just mad because it wasn't a comic book movie. Now, this movie's a great fuck you to comic book movies. Quentin Tarantino notoriously does not like comic book movies. But, I mean, I don't know. I gotta say, I was kind of turned off by Quentin's comments here. I mean, not that he came out and said he loved the movie. I expect that from Quentin Tarantino. Totally quirky, totally whatever. And if it worked for him, that's great. But then going on to say the things he said after that, I thought he should have relented a bit. Anyway, guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, The Perfect Jean. Look, you guys know I've been talking about The Perfect Jean for a while now. I absolutely love these. They fit like a dream, they look fantastic, and they are so comfortable, you forget you're even wearing pants. We all love jeans, but look, we all also know they can be a little bit uncomfortable for the boys, but not with The Perfect Jean. These jeans fit like they were custom made, stretch like you wouldn't believe, and they look absolutely fantastic. The Perfect Jean also has a seriously massive range of sizes, everything from 26 to 50 and lengths of 26 to 38. These have become my absolute go-to jeans whenever I'm hanging around the house or even going out for the day. And listen, the Perfect Jean isn't even just pants. They've revolutionized t-shirts as well. The Perfect Tee has just enough stretch to hide that beer belly while accentuating your arms and chest for that flawless look. My guys, it's finally time to stop crushing your balls in uncomfortable jeans by going to theperfectjean.nyc. Our listeners get 15% off your first order, plus free shipping, free returns, and free exchanges when you use the code Campea at checkout. That's 15% off for new customers at theperfectjean.nyc with the promo code Campea. And after you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support the John Campea Show and tell them we sent you. F your khakis and get the perfect jean. Chris, you read Quentin Tarantino's comments. Truly one of the great filmmakers of our age, but what did you make of his comment here?
I mean, my personal preference always is I don't need to absolutely shit on somebody else's shit. I know I've been guilty of that in the past. I try not to. But this, him talking about him loving this movie is filled with so many backhanded compliments. Like, the more banal the musical numbers got, the more boring and tedious and awful the musical numbers were, the more you liked it.
The more sucky the movie was, the more I liked it.
That's interesting. And I have had other people, because full disclosure, as you all in this room know, and as a reminder, you guys at home, I didn't like the first one. So after you guys went and saw the preview and had your review, I went, I'm not going to watch it till it comes on streaming. Right. I don't need to spend my time doing this. So I've had a couple people tell me, no, Chris, I really think you should give it a go, especially if you go in with the lens of, this is a commentary on what we expect as moviegoers from our comic book properties. And Harley wants Joker to be this version of who she thinks he is, and he's not that. And so there's this interesting commentary on, what's it mean to be this iconic character? What's it mean to have this kind of legacy or this expectation around you? Which I think can be an interesting perspective. And I'm interested in seeing this with that lens. But some of these comments here do feel a little looking down the nose at everything still, even though he's being complimentary. And like I was just saying with the stuff about Deadpool, if this isn't your kind of movie, that's fine. I love that he was willing to go see it and talked about it being an intellectual experience for him, and an exercise for him. But again, it's one of those things of, hey, it's great if you like something, but we don't need to make other people feel bad for liking typical comic book fodder. Same as I don't need to make anyone feel bad for really enjoying the Joker. I absolutely understand why that first film is incredible to most people. It executes really, really well. It's just not my kind of movie, right? So everyone can like what they like without us having to make the other people taken down a notch. I try to do
also
that,
just
but I know I
feels
fail sometimes too.
Stepping away from Quentin Tarantino's comments, just for more of the loud minority, it just feels more like, no, see, he meant to do all these bad things, and that's why it's great, and therefore we win. And it's like, you win by liking the film. Shut up if other people didn't like it.
Yeah, I mean, look, if I'm having what's in a restaurant having some kind of a stew, and I take one bite and I spit it out because like there's so much salt in it, the chef coming out and saying, no, you don't understand. I meant to put 5 cups of salt in that. Oh, well, if you meant to put 5 cups of salt in it, then it must be great. I don't care what they meant to do.
This meal is
I care what is the
commentary on,
result, right?
hypertension.
But again, look, the bottom line for me is nobody didn't like Joker 2 because it wasn't comic book movie enough. We didn't like it because it wasn't a good movie. And if you thought it was, that's great. Many of us didn't think it was. That's fine too. But I just thought it was really weird comments from Quentin Tarantino, who maybe sounds a little salty for the fact that none of his movies have made the money comic book movies have. Maybe. And listen, I say this as a absolute Quentin Tarantino fan. I'm just saying it's kind of weird comments. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this story here? Jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.